You're listening to Heart with Saima, the podcast show for people searching for that courageous person within us who wants to be inspired by listening to stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Saima Dillon, your host. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. Let's dive right in. My guest today is AnaMaria. She's connecting with us from Spain. Since finding her way back to her creative potential, AnaMaria helps entrepreneurs and business people get back to their source of creativity. She does this through means of meaningful conversation, artistic play, and writing, because there are so many ideas out there and inside of us. With a background in sales management in hospitality, she did an executive MBA in the same field. She discovered during these studies that her biggest passion was human behavior and personal development. When becoming a mother, the paradigm shift put her on a journey of studying more and more about it and motivated her to embark on the quest of finding her purpose. Being diagnosed with ADHD provided for more insight into her own behavior and gave her motivation to lean into her different thinking. Only 3 years later, a manic episode, followed by an additional diagnosis of bipolar disorder, gave her the challenge to really shift her perspective. And without waiting anymore, let me bring her on. Hey, AnaMaria. Welcome to Heart with Saima. It's my honor and privilege to have you here streaming in from Spain. And how are you today?
I'm great, thank you. Hi, lovely to be here. It's quite late here. It's like in the nights I have quiet and peace. The kids are sleeping, so it's bliss.
What time is it there? Like 11?
11 p.m. Yes.
Well, you look vibrant and you look you're glowing for 11 o'clock in the night.
Thank you. I just reapplied my makeup. Do I have some microphone for you, or is it just me?
Say that again.
Do you hear me okay?
I hear some sound.
Like an echo, right?
Yeah. But you're fine. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So to start, AnaMaria, how about I hand over the screen to you and you do an introduction. Tell us about you and your journey.
Okay. So I think you said a few things that we discussed about. I was born in Romania, in the communist Romania, right? I had a very nice childhood, actually in the countryside with my grandparents. It's an interesting phenomenon that happens there, where, especially back then, where grandparents raised children because the parents were being sent to different random places to work by the dictator. So that was my childhood. I then studied hospitality, as we discussed. So I became an economist. Although from early age, I kept saying what I really want to do is to be an artist. Well, of course, I wanted to be a psychologist as well. What else? Like an architect, designer, and so on. But like the artist bit was in the back of my mind, like always. And actually, now that I'm telling you this story, I remember a moment when I watched this movie that appeared. I think La La Land. I was already a mother by then. And I just like cried the entire time of that movie, because it was a lot about following your dream and following your dream of living your creative potential and to dare to be an artist in today's world. So that's like, these kind of things, these kind of moments, they remind you that you might be on the wrong track, right? Jealousy is one of the feelings we don't really like to talk about, and we're not very proud of having them. But jealousy, especially like artistic jealousy, can be a great indicator of something that you might want to do, right? So yes, like my biggest challenges provided me with the biggest motivating factors to really step into my game. Although it was really hard, and it still is, I can't say it's not, but I have that self-awareness and the idea that I'm doing what I really should be doing.
So you said something about using. So these are different emotions that we all possess as human beings, right?
Yes.
And jealousy is one of them. Anyone who says that I just don't feel any jealousy or I don't feel the emotion of jealousy, I feel is just lying to themselves,
Mhm.
because as human beings, we have all these inherent emotions within us. It's just that we have to learn to figure out how to process these different emotions within us, right? So,
Absolutely.
so you said something about jealousy.
Mm.
Tell me where that thought is coming in from. What made you? I know you're creative. You're interested in psychology, and you're
Yeah.
using your creative talent to towards your field and towards helping entrepreneurs. So, where does that feeling of or thought or emotion? Why is that emotion of jealousy important in your creative arts?
Because it provided me. I don't feel it that much now because I am doing my own thing, right? I stepped into it, but there were moments in my past when my creativity was really stifled, right? I still had my own ways of, like, I still have my different thinking, right? However, I wasn't allowing it to be at all times, and I wasn't allowing myself to be fully who I am. I was trying to conform to a certain pattern, right? I was trying to be who I have to be, because like, I was bullied at 15. So when this happened, it was quite serious. I was really badly affected. And that episode made me really kind of hide. I wanted to be like everybody else as possible so that I don't stand out for the wrong reasons. And when I started to really show my colors, some clues came in the form of jealousy. And this reminded me, because I really believe in accepting all our emotions and our feelings, because they come as indicators of things that we might need to work on. So jealousy is one of these feelings. I was seeing somebody write something beautifully, and I was like, wow, I really wish I could write like that. Or I would see somebody painting, because I used to paint before that bullying episode, right? I used to paint. I would see a beautiful painting and I said, wow, I would really like to do that. And that's what motivated. Now I paint, now I write. I had my first exhibitions, and now what I want is for people, to help other people to have a similar creative awakening, I would call it, because this can come in so many shapes and forms, and it can bring so much to our lives. Not only artistic expression, it can be anything from just like coming up with ideas about different solutions to problems.
So I think what you're saying is, um, I think self-reflection is extremely important, right? Because self-reflection, when we try to spend time with ourselves and
Yeah.
spend time listening to our inner thoughts and feelings and emotions, It helps us identify the different emotions that we are feeling. They are clues, our reactions to different things. They are clues of internal chaos or what might be happening internally. And I just shot a podcast which is going to come out in a few weeks on one of my favorite books called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Mm, yeah.
And, the book talks about that your journey of life gives you these hints and these clues.
Yeah.
As you keep going through this journey, like this shepherd did, and he kept on moving forward, and life kept on sending you these small messages, these different triggers, and these different tests which come our way. And they are coming our way because they are hints and they are messages and warnings, and trying to show us the right path in life.
Mm,
And I think
absolutely.
that's kind of what you're talking about as well. It sounds like, like your journey, and how what happened when you were 15, when you were bullied, and it all the suppressed emotions that you were feeling, and they started manifesting themselves. And then you started self reflection, and you started thinking, what is this trying to teach me?
Exactly. And I went into this journey of healing, of forgiving, because when you go through this kind of episodes, you start to build up resentment or anger even. Um, and you have to go through this process of forgiving the person who hurt you, and forgiving yourself for allowing that to happen, because I believe without this step it's very hard to move forward unattached to that moment.
People don't realize that you forgive not because the other person deserves forgiveness,
No,
but you forgive because your soul needs to let go.
exactly.
And that's such a crucial realization, because once you forgive and you let go of the burden of those emotions weighing you down, you freed your soul, you freed
Mm,
yourself to move on towards better things and towards better emotions.
absolutely, absolutely. And it wasn't easy, don't get me, this is not easy. um but it was very, very rewarding. Very
Personal
rewarding.
reward.
Yes. And honestly, the hardest part was forgiving myself. It took longer, and it because we sometimes hold ourselves to such high expectations, right? We make excuses for other people, and not to say that they don't have their own reasoning for their actions, but we make excuses. And yet for ourselves, we put ourselves through so much, like so much, such big
Such high
expectations,
expectations
such
from
high
ourselves, right?
expectations. Yes, we are being critical of ourselves. um, but yeah, if you go through that, it's very freeing, exactly as you said. It frees you cycle.
Yeah. So, Anna Marie, your journey has had a lot of challenges, and I think that's life challenges
Mhm.
each and every individual, and you've gone through your share of challenges, and just like we were talking about the alchemist and the different
Yeah.
tests which come in our life to help those tests help us see, where we might be going astray, so we can come back on the right path, and we can learn from these tests and tribulations in our life. You got diagnosed with the bipolar disorder. Um, and that right there, I mean, that right there must have been a very, very a turning point in
Yeah.
your life. Um, Will you share with me, as well as the people who listen, will you share with us, tell us more about what being bipolar is about and how it impacted your life?
Yeah, of course. So what happened is, it started with a big manic episode a year and a bit ago. I didn't know anything about this beforehand. I was suspected a bit when I was diagnosed with ADHD, but it came out that it's fine. What happens is, like, this kind of disorders sometimes have later onset, right? You don't necessarily have it from childhood. It starts at one point because of certain reasons.
What
I was
reason? Is that hormonal or genetic or combination or
so
circumstance?
you usually, I'm not an expert, but you're usually predisposed genetically, and then there have to be some sort of other kind
Trauma
of
to trigger it?
trigger. So what happened with me was, I was on medication for ADHD, and I was very excited and a bit scared about the fact that I was moving countries. I was moving from the UK to Spain, and I started becoming like um, very excited about the fact that I was in London, where there were so many opportunities, and it came at a time when I was ready to step into my professional career after having my children, who are still young at the moment. I did some consulting, but I didn't work a lot while they were little, right? I was at home with them, looking after them. And at that point, I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready to move on, um, towards my professional career. And I'm like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to talk to these people, go to this conference. So I was getting over and over and over excited, to the point that at, at one moment I forgot to take my medicines for like a week. Then I started them over, like all of them at once after the week. I was at a conference which was very stimulating intellectually and emotionally as well, because it was about using marketing for the good of the world. And it was like so much related to what my mission is about, just helping the world and contributing. So I went up in the clouds. I didn't sleep for 4 or 5 days. So that's one way of how this manifests. You get the hypomanic or manic episodes when your mood is extremely elevated. You don't sleep well. Your appetite decreases. You tend to speak faster, to be very passionate. You smile a lot. You are quite radiant. Your eyes enlarge a lot of times, so you look different. Your physiognomy changes a bit because your it's all those hormones going through your body, right? um, and you just feel like doing so many things. The way it manifested in me at that time and whenever else it is happening, I am always in the search of finding solutions for big problems, right? So I'm putting my superhuman cape on, and I'm like, oh, let's save the world. What am I going to do this time? So I keep coming up with all these ideas. Uh, what happens is, like, a manic or hypomanic episode doesn't necessarily feel bad. It can actually feel really good, but it is dangerous because, as I said, you don't sleep much, you don't eat much, you can make really rash decisions. A lot of people become hypersexual and they make bad decisions. A lot of people start spending a lot of money, right? I don't have that much this problem. What I do is I can't stop my brain from thinking. So I stay awake at night and just like write things. And, um, what happens is, like, there's only one direction from up there, and that's down. And it's very rarely that you come down to a stable position. You go down, down. And that's the ugliest part of it, right?
So you started going through this episode,
Yeah,
and you were on a really high place, and then you
very hard.
started
Yes,
just
I just got
going down.
way down, way down. At one point, so I had like a moment of going really down, which is really dangerous in this case because it's kind of like a mixed episode. You're still quite high, but you're also very triggered. And I still kept like quite elevated for a while after that. And then when I moved here in Spain in January, I just like it was really bad in terms of like a depressive episode. I realized, like my psychiatrist back in London already said, like this is gonna be a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. I saw another two psychiatrists here, right? Because I wanted to make sure you don't want to, right, to
For it
not be
to happen
sure.
again. And of
Yes,
course, you
exactly.
wanted to get it diagnosed to
To
see
be
what was
sure this
happening
is it.
internally,
Yeah,
right? And I
exactly.
think this is something that happens to a lot of people, um, right? They're going through all this emotional chaos, and they cannot pinpoint what is happening to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what mental illnesses are about as well, right? Because nobody can. People can't really identify. They're going through all these emotional fluctuations, but they can't really, they don't really know what is happening to them internally.
Yes, because also there's not a lot of awareness about these things, right?
Yeah.
People don't talk about it. Yes, maybe you saw in a movie, and I really commend the people that are showing this in movies or in books and stuff like that, because people don't talk about these things. And because we don't hear about it, we can't even recognize it in ourselves when it happens. And now, like, I have a community that I'm part of with other people with bipolar disorder, and a lot of them are like, after diagnosis is like, oh my god, now looking back, right, I see the things were happening, but now I have such a different awareness that I'm able to see it coming, right? You are able to see the episodes coming, and you can have a toolbox. I have like a toolbox of things that I can do to try and prevent it, or to just make sure it runs more smoothly and it doesn't get too bad, right?
So, AnaMaria, for you, I mean, when you got diagnosed with having the bipolar disorder, um, how did it change your life?
It actually changed it in a big way. Initially, of course, it was a shock. In a way, it kind of made sense, because I kept having in the past some moments of really getting excited about something and so on, but I wasn't getting into an actual episode. Um,
You probably couldn't figure out what exactly was happening internally in your body, what was psychologically the emotions that you were feeling, and the fluctuations and the graph going up and down, and not being able to understand what was going
yes.
on.
So, and also because I had undiagnosed ADHD, and these two conditions are very much together. So what happens is like 70% of people with bipolar also have ADHD, and they're not the same thing. So one is a mood disorder and one is a neurodivergence, right? It's the way the brain functions. And also, like, people that are diagnosed with ADHD, 20% of them will develop bipolar as well. So they're very much together. And the thing is that a lot of the symptoms coincide. So it's hard to pinpoint what is this. Is it because you have in ADHD, you have these moments of hyper focus. People think like, oh, ADHD, you can't pay attention. Well, it's not like that at all. You don't pay attention to things you're not interested in. Yet, when you are interested in something, you are laser focused, right? You get into it like that. So what happens is like these kind of moments of hyper focus from ADHD can be confused with the hypomanic episode from bipolar, right? Because they can be quite similar.
So, how did it impact your life?
Well, it gave me a big wake up call.
Mm.
And actually, I think, like it was super hard and it was a big shock, but in a way, it was a blessing as well, because
Because you had a diagnosis.
I don't know if it was a diagnosis or actually what I actually went through.
Yeah.
Those kind of extreme experiences, those kind of challenges, they come with a change in perspective. It's impossible not to change your perspective on life, on what you are, where you're going towards, and where you have been beforehand. Because this kind of shift and a change in perspective, it's more like a paradigm shift. It changes everything. So then you have to make new decisions. There's new possibilities that open up, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I really went and said, like, what do I actually want to do? What do I want to achieve? And I started saying, like, I'm going to do everything that I've always wanted to do. I will give it a try. I will give it a go and see where it takes me. And I had help. I want to thank like LinkedIn community. I want to thank some Facebook groups. I've met amazing people in don't forget this was all happening during COVID times.
So this is all extremely
This
recent.
is last year. So the
Wow.
first manic episode, I had it at the end of 2019. And in between like January until like April, it was my diagnosis period, right? Seeing different doctors, figuring out treatments. I'm still playing with treatments now because it takes a while until you find a treatment that works long term. So it's really fresh for me, right?
Wow.
And I'm still in that space of like, oh wow, where am I heading? How is it going? But it's I gain clarity every day, more and more. And as I said, that kind of perspective shift took me by surprise,
Yeah.
but in a really good way, right? So even though like in terms of my mood, it was going like that. I
But at
still
least you had a diagnosis and you
exactly, it
understood that,
makes sense.
okay, you know what, you are bipolar, and this is, you have ADHD, and these are the symptoms. This is,
Exactly.
and you could reflect back and you could look back and you could see a lot of things which at one time probably did not make much sense, and those things started to make sense to you.
Yes,
And I think at that point you're able to um, put a better sense of direction in your life,
it
right?
does. It
You know
does.
what your restrictions are, and you have to figure out ways around the restrictions.
Yes. Because you know what else happens, Saima? When you're not diagnosed with certain things like ADHD, for instance, because ADHD, I had it since I was little, but in communist Romania, nobody was looking for these kind of things. There was no concept of that whatsoever. I was told that, you have so much potential, but you're lazy, right? I was told all sorts of things that didn't make sense because I could see people around me finding it so easy to do their homework for chemistry, for instance, which I didn't like, to study history. I could not figure out the years in a chronological order for the life of me. I could not. It was impossible. And yet I was super good at maths. I was going to like the Olympics in maths. I was super good at literature and like foreign languages and things like that. I was painting. Yet like chemistry and biology and history, I was really bad. So I was like, what is wrong with me, right? What's going on? Luckily, the system in Romania is quite chill. So because I was good at these things, they would give me good grades anyways for the other ones. So I managed. One of your questions you asked previously was like, what are you proud of? Like, I am proud of the fact that regardless of all these challenges and all this bad talk that I started to have because of these challenges, right? It does affect your self-worth. It
Yeah.
can't not affect it when you're struggling so much in things that seem easier. I would lose the keys 3 times a week. I still do. I lose my keys. I lose my wallet because I'm now not medicated for ADHD anymore right now. I lose my wallet. I spend probably 2 hours every day looking for my phone around the house. I have to start getting ready like half an hour before I have to leave somewhere, because either I go downstairs and I remember I forgot something upstairs, or I don't have, it's hard. And it's like the little things. Tidying up the kitchen will take me 2 hours. So it's this kind of things that you don't like, you wouldn't see challenging, that gives you challenges.
And then
And
you're
that's
questioning your sanity too, right? You're
exactly
like, oh
what's
my
wrong
God,
with me.
every day I'm doing this, and here it's just so easy for other people to do this. And then, like you said, it impacts your self-worth and your
Yeah.
self-esteem. But being diagnosed at least
Mhm.
tells you that, hey, there's like nothing
There's an
wrong with you.
explanation. It's like, I'm not
There's a
stupid, or I'm not, yeah, I'm not, right? I'm not completely like unable, or I don't even know how to say it. They would used to call me, I don't know how to say it in English, ditzy, or the one with the head in the clouds,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absent-minded.
Absent-minded and stuff like that. And yeah, it was true, because that's kind of how it manifests.
And
And
people
yet,
still do, right? Because
yes,
people are great at
it's putting labels on you,
yes.
putting labels on you. And so, yeah, but like, as you said, having a diagnosis gives you perspective, and it gives you explanations for things that didn't seem right. So it gives you a chance of being more accepting. And I think that was the biggest thing that happened with bipolar. Initially, I was in denial, right? That's why I saw like 3 psychiatrists.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew deep down this is it, because what else can it be? I was like, oh, maybe it was chemically induced because of my medicine and blah, blah, and blah, blah. Anyway, so
But once you accept it,
once you
then
accept it,
you accept it, then you start living your life around it. You start looking for
exactly.
solutions. You start trying to like, here's the problem, let's work around it. Go
Yeah.
right, go left, go in front of it, because this is where the problem lies.
Exactly. And they say you live with a mental illness, because that's what it is about. You learn to live with it, to coexist with that condition that is
Yeah.
challenging. And the fact that I went through this and I started to see myself as a creative person again, I decided to use my creativity and my new artistic endeavors to actually bring awareness about this and about my journey with it. So I've done an exhibition. I actually did the same presentation twice in 2 different online exhibitions, and it's called From the Top of the Clouds to the Bottom of the Sea.
Okay.
Or actually, it's the other way around. From
Okay.
the bottom of the sea to the top of the clouds. I guess
Okay.
it can go both ways. It depends where you want to start the journey. And it is about my life with bipolar and how it manifests. It's poetry and paintings, and I've been encouraged to share it more. So I think I'm going to put it on my LinkedIn profile in the about section soon, for more people to see, because I really believe in creating more discussions around these topics.
You have to, because with mental health, the issue is that nobody wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to stay hush hush about it.
Yeah,
But if you don't discuss it, if you don't put it out there, how are we
yeah,
going to find solutions to a problem?
it's true. On the other hand, though, it's important to talk about it, because there is this conundrum. Do you talk about it while it happens to you, bad episodes, or do you talk about it when you're already in the healing process or you've healed from it? Because the other thing you don't want to bring, like if you've been through a traumatic event and things like that, you don't want to cause secondary trauma, right? And you don't want to, it happened to people that they re-traumatize themselves by overexposing themselves. So it's a fine line. But if you're able to do it from a place of some sort of stability and a big self-awareness and figuring out what your triggers are, it can be really beneficial. Right?
And at the end of the day, I feel, Anna, I feel that every human being, we have our physical challenges, we have our mental challenges, we have our emotional challenges. So I think that everyone has these mental challenges to some extent or the other. And then, of course, there are people who have it a lot more difficult, and there are more technicalities involved, and like being bipolar, and that's a lot more difficult. And yes, that is something which requires expert opinions and expert guidance and medication. Are you on medication?
Yes, I'm on one medicine at the moment.
What does that medicine do for you?
It's a mood stabilizer. So what happened is, like, like we all have our waves, right?
Yeah.
We go up and down with our mood, which is it's a sinusoid. That's life. But then, like with bipolar disorder, it's like this, right? And what this medicine does, it makes the waves kind of like this. And with the right dose, it can be like normal kind of sinusoids. And if it's that particular medicine that works for you, it's like there's so many people looking for the right combination, and also like at one point something doesn't work anymore and you have to find different avenues. There are people that take 6-7 types of medicine, a combination of all sorts, because it is a serious illness. It's not easy. And the thing is, like, the more you have this kind of, your brain gets affected as well.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the brain's already, I mean, the emotional trauma associated with mental illness, where you're trying to figure out what is wrong with you. Right? You're not like some of the other people around you.
yeah,
Your journey is going through this craziness, and you don't know what's wrong. You're trying to fix it. You're trying to figure out. I mean, that right there, that's so difficult.
it is. Yes, it is.
And even loved ones, family members, people who see, if you see your children or your siblings or your spouse or people around you, your loved ones go through emotional and mental fluctuations, and you don't know how to help them.
It's really hard. I find myself, because I kind of accepted it for myself, and I made sense of it. Sometimes it's even hard for me to accept certain parts of it, but it is hard for me to see how sometimes it can affect the ones around me, right? My parents getting worried about me when I don't feel like answering the phones for a few days or weeks. The way I am present with my children, like sometimes when I'm in a depressive episode, now it's much better and I'm much more stable, but sometimes I just wanted to sleep. But I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, so that was not an option.
How did you cope with that?
You just find it. I just managed to find it inside of me. So what happened is that they go to school, right? Not in lockdown, obviously, and it was a long lockdown. But now they go to school. So when I'm feeling low, I wake up, breakfast, prepare their bags, blah, 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 with my husband. We do our little dance there. And then when they're out of the house, right back to bed, right? And I try not to make appointments. If I have appointments, I set them up for later, just to like get that extra sleep to recover. And when they come from school, That's where all my energy goes, to be there with them, right? And
I
of
mean,
course, when I'm there, I will put more TV on just to make sure that I can soothe myself and I can have that time of,
yeah. Being
yeah.
a parent is not easy.
Oh, it's not easy without a mental illness. Imagine
Yeah.
it's challenging. It's challenging. On the other hand, so they're like my biggest trigger, but they're the thing that gets me through faster every time, because you
How?
know it's like, as I said, like I'm there for them. And initially you're kind of there because you have to, but then you start seeing the world through their eyes, right? You
Yeah.
see those faces with the love, and they come and touch your face with the little hands.
That
And
helps.
that helps a lot. It helps me a lot. I don't know for other people. This is
Yeah.
my perspective on how it helps. They've saved me a few times from going further down. They saved me a few times. And it's incredible the emotional intelligence they have when they're so little. The 3-year-old sometimes comes to me, is like, Mommy, why does your face look sad? And I'm like, oh dear. And then just like with that
And
question,
they say that, and does your demeanor change?
I just smile, or sometimes I just get tears in my eyes because of emotion
Yeah.
and because of being seen like that.
Sorry about that. All
That's all right.
came. We My daughter came. I forgot to open the door for her, so the
Oops.
dog started barking. Um, so tell me. So, I
Yeah,
think,
the little people, they're amazing.
yeah,
Like they come and give you a hug. They see, and they don't come to get a hug from me. They come to give me a hug, right?
because they
Uh,
feel something is off.
they feel something is off, or even when I'm really excited, they feel it as well. So on one hand, it gets you worried. It gets you worried about how they're gonna perceive, how stable is their life, and what kind of, like, because I always want it to be like a safe harbor for them. But I also think like it will give them an incentive to become more empathetic, you know. So it's good parts and bad parts, but yeah, we're all
And I
gonna
think
mess
that's
up.
okay, right?
Sorry,
That's
that's
not.
okay. That's
I think
okay.
it's a reality of life.
Yeah,
We might. I think even in my culture, there's so much. There's so much emphasis on perfection,
yeah,
where you're portraying how everything is just great, and the visualization and the external factors, how everything is just looking perfect, lives are perfect, and it's but really it's
it's
not.
not real. It cannot
That's
be.
not real, right?
Not real.
We are going
And
through it all:
yeah,
physical challenges or emotional challenges, mental challenges, and you know experiencing different things. And that's what real life is.
exactly.
It's an amalgamation of all these different feelings and emotions and everything that we experience in our life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everyone has to be, it's so hush, you have to keep quiet about it. No, you don't want anyone to know, because people are going to be like, oh, you know what, so such and such. And once you come to terms with it and you accept it and you just let it go, you
Exactly.
become
Yeah.
you're free.
Hmm.
I think that is, that freedom of spirit and freedom of your soul. I think that's what the soul is searching for, right? The soul is searching for that freedom. Um,
And the opportunity for us to
yeah,
express that freedom and to express the beauty of that soul, because the soul is connected to everything, right? It's this humongous amount of energy out there, and I call it the magic of the universe. It's just because I find like life,
yeah,
humanity, and it's all magical. There's so many beautiful things that are happening that you're like, wow, you can't help not to be in awe and in wonder. And that's what I want to do through my coaching, to help people get back to that source of creativity in
yeah,
order for them to open their heart to their mind to their soul, so that they can tap into that magic.
yeah.
Because it is magic. We can do so many things. We have limitless resources if we really tap into them, and if we allow ourselves to get out of
That box where you're living, the
the,
box
the,
created by
that
your
box, and
brain.
that's like, oh, this is the path, I cannot, this is how I see things. Because we are in echo chambers, we are in our so-called tribes, right? And we keep getting reinforced the same ideas over and over again. And just allowing yourself that perspective shift and that creative thinking, that divergent thinking, going a bit, instead of going like this, going like that opens up a whole range of possibilities.
It changes your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's not just for people who might have that might have a mental that might have
No,
mental illness. That
everybody.
goes for everyone. Change in paradigm, change in your thought process. Like you said, instead of just thinking and moving forward in this flow,
Yeah.
start moving this way.
Yeah. Or
And
even if you're not going to change the direction, just seeing different things
yeah,
is going to enhance your journey, right? Because we don't say, oh my God, I'm going to tap into my creativity, so I'm going to leave my job and
yeah,
I'm going to go to Hollywood or whatever. Because, like, we have to be realistic as well.
yeah,
So the journey of creativity is, first you go to this divergent thinking, you go like, wow, possibilities, hundreds of ideas. There's so many ideas you can have, right? So many beautiful things out there. But then you're like, okay. Let's take this beautiful picture and,
yeah.
like, where can we actually go? What can we add to our lives from all these things? It can be that we take on a hobby. People's lives have been dramatically changed by taking on a meaningful hobby.
And it changed your life, right?
Absolutely. The fact that I started painting and writing again, wow, it was cathartic. Having my first exhibition, Saima, and actually saying I'm an artist
Yeah,
after 20 something years of not even flirting with the idea, right? That
yeah,
I could actually live this dream. And I did it. I don't have to do it full time.
yeah,
And I don't do it every day. I do it sometimes therapeutically. I write a lot. I love to write. It helps me that's another thing, because you learn ways to deal with your emotions, not necessarily for a mental illness, for everybody. We're all struggling in some way, and it helps, so you can
because
take a
it's
new
a brain
hobby.
dump.
Sorry.
It's a brain dump.
Exactly, so you're like out of mind.
Whatever's in your head,
Yeah,
dump it onto
that's it.
paper. Because once you transfer all your thoughts and your chaotic thoughts and all your emotions and everything on paper,
Yeah.
it's shifted. It's not
Yeah,
in
and
your head
you're great.
anymore.
It's you're lighter. You're lighter.
And
Yeah,
that's why, I mean, writing diary, or a pathway, creating that pathway to shift things, from move not shift, to literally move the thoughts from your brain onto paper. And
yeah,
then, it's on there. Your brain opens up and creates space
yeah.
to start letting other things enter, because that space is being created when you move
Mm,
things from your head.
absolutely. Yeah, and it helps a lot. Like,
Because your brain sabotages you. Your brain
yeah.
can create self-destruction.
Mm. Unless you start programming yourself, right? Because
You have to.
our brains are being programmed every day by external sources, right?
Yeah.
Through social media, through everything we consume. I no longer read the news now. I cannot engage in that anymore. I just read The Economist, that's all, because it kind of comes as a analysis post whatever happened. So I don't get involved in whatever is happening in that moment because it's charged with lately with a lot of emotional distress, right?
Yeah.
So we are being programmed every day, by advertised, by everything, by the way these algorithms are taking over our lives, right?
Did you know our brain processes like 15,000 words a minute?
Wow, that's incredible.
All
Wow.
these words. So just
Yeah.
imagine what the brain is going through.
It's like
It is, right? And then if you stop, so it's up to you. If you're watching things or following news or things which emotionally charge you and which create that disbalance within you, I mean, I don't watch news either. So most of the time, my news literally will just come from someone having an emotional outburst
yeah,
on
on
social
Facebook,
media,
right?
right? But I don't watch news.
Yeah.
I just try to stay away from negative energy as much as possible, and I think that's just really important for everyone. Um, what is one thing that has really helped you with your journey?
Practicing acceptance. Practicing acceptance, especially when I'm low. I accept that at this moment I am low. And the fact that you accept it and you don't try to, like, oh my God, I need to get out of this. I need to get out of this. I need to get out of this. It doesn't help. The more you resist it, the bigger it gets, right? It's like when you say, oh, I don't want to think about this. I don't want to think about this. I don't want to think about this. And you keep thinking about it, right?
You're running away from the problems,
Yes. And it doesn't help. Even if it might help like on the moment,
and
it's
that's what
coming back.
that's what I have done. I walk away, but my daughter is teaching me not that walking away does not solve the problem.
No,
You have to face it, you have to discuss it. It's not about confrontation,
no.
but so this is something my daughter is teaching me, that you have to let other people know what you're feeling, what you're thinking, um, so that you can resolve it instead of harboring all those feelings and emotions within you.
Yeah. Because they build up. They
Yeah,
build up and they come out in a not so nice way.
yeah.
They build up resentment, they build up guilt, they build up shame. And those are
Stress.
stress, a lot of stress, a lot of stress.
Stress is where most of the illnesses come from. I mean, cancer is all stress based.
Yeah. They build inflammation in the body and then things just happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're coaching. So tell us about in these last 5 minutes, Anna Maria. Tell us about what you're doing. where that courage came from and how it's changing your life and what you want to do for the world.
So the inspiration came from going through my own journey of igniting my creativity, of uncovering that creative power, and I am so determined and inspired to just help the world in whatever way I can. If it's just like inspiring one person, that's amazing. If I can inspire 100, 1,000, 10,000, it's even better. So I want other people to go through a similar journey that I went. I want them to feel like they're living their purpose, like I feel now. I still have a long way to go. I've just started, but it feels amazing to actually be doing it, right? And like a big challenge like it has happened to me brought me here. And I want to say that whatever challenge you are facing, there's still light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And there's still so many things that can be done. There are still ways in seeing your experience as some sort of blessing. Because there's always possibilities in the face of uncertainty.
You gotta try, right?
Exactly.
Because until you try, you never know what is waiting. If you keep just walking this path,
Yeah.
you don't know what might be waiting here or here for you, right?
Keep your eyes open, right? Keep your mind open. Keep those possibilities in your sight. Keep
Einstein's
them there.
theory of insanity, to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Exactly.
So if
Yes,
you are
follower.
somewhere in your life
Yeah.
where you have discontentment and you are not happy where you are in your life,
Yeah.
you will need to change something. So there's some shift in your life and you can change your life, right?
Exactly. And
And you live once.
you live once. That's it. I work a lot with people that are already successful, that have arrived into a certain place of comfort, right? The thing is that you arrive and then what? Right?
Yeah.
Then what? Because you don't have a goal to aspire to anymore. The hustle thing doesn't make sense anymore. So what do you fill your life with to give you meaning, to give you purpose? And those kind of moments are crossroads, right? And as you said, try doing something differently. Try adding more passion to your life.
Something, right?
Something, anything. Try adding more innovation in your business. If you have your own business, because I work with entrepreneurs a lot, with founders and business owners. What more can you bring to your business to bring more revenue, or to bring more excitement, to bring something different in the world? And my biggest thing is some sort of corporate responsibility. So if you can help the world at
Yeah.
the same time, because I think this is the big thing now. And besides the fact that it's super beneficial, it's actually really trendy at the moment. So it can be a marketing deploy as well. But you know what? I don't care about the reasoning behind it all, as long as you do good for the world. Because some say, oh, if you don't do it from the heart, you don't just do it for marketing. I'm like, I don't care. You bring positivity in the world. I don't care what the reasoning is. I actually don't. Just do your duty and contribute, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you put good out there, I definitely feel in order for you to receive, put it out there so it
Yeah, give,
ricochets
give,
back.
give.
Any
Absolutely.
any final words before, because we are at the end?
At the end of the hour. No,
Yes,
I
we
just want to thank you for providing me this space. I felt
absolutely.
very comfortable to talk to you, and it was a wonderful discussion. I appreciate that.
Likewise, thank you for being here. It was my honor and privilege. And I'm going to remove you from the stream. And
All
thank you
right.
for being
Bye,
here.
everyone.
Okay. So, yeah, another show comes to an end. And the purpose was um, to to talk about mental illness, to talk about uh, bipolar disorder, to talk about this journey where bring awareness to this subject, which is not really discussed a whole lot. So once again, thank you all for carving out the time to listen to what was shared on today's podcast. If this inspired you to take the next step in your journey, then I want you to join my email list by emailing vip@simadillon.com. And of course, if you know if the podcast episode will help someone else, then help me change lives. Just take 30 seconds to simply share the link to this podcast in a text or post it on social media. I'll be so grateful. So until next time,